when someone has heart failure, just a general heart healthy diet is very important, and that's one which is low in fat, low in salt, high in fiber, has consistent carbs, and more importantly, especially if you have heart failure, you want to watch the sodium in your diet, and you also want to watch the fluids. So those are the two things, the hallmark types of things to remember, is when you have a weak heart, when you have a heart that's not pumping normally, you really should be looking very much closely at your sodium or salt intake and the amount of fluids you drink. One of the things is the fact that sodium is a very important mineral in the body. It maintains fluid balance in the body, so we need it. But we don't need a lot of it. We need a very small amount. Unfortunately, we have diets here in Hawaii that is very high in sodium. We eat a diet that is normally between 4,000 to 6,000 grams of sodium in a day. And when you have heart failure, what we've decided to do is cut it back a little bit more, between 1,500 milligrams to 2,000 milligrams of sodium. How you can keep track of that is really reading food labels. It's important to make sure that you read the food labels on the products that you're buying. More importantly, what you want to do is start eating fresh herbs, seasoning your foods with fresh herbs, using things that are salt-free that are out there in the market, like Mrs. Dash, garlic powder and not garlic salt. And there's other products out there that are actually quite helpful in helping you flavor your foods to make it palatable and delicious and something that you would like to eat. When you're looking at your diet, what you want to do is add what I say are colorful foods. So whether you want pak choi and you can have some mango, some kalua pork, that is low salt and low sodium kalua pork, and also your poi. We also want you to make sure that you keep close track of your fluid intake. This is a 1 8-ounce glass of milk, non-fat milk, and we limit you to no more than 2 liters of fluid a day in a 24 hours. So what that translates into is no more than 8 of these 8 ounces of glasses of fluid in a day. There are 4 of these 8 ounces in 1 liter, and so 2 liters, there'll be a total of 8. This is very important because if you eat a lot of sodium in your diet, your kidneys will not get rid of the extra fluid. It will hold on to it, it will retain that fluid, and it will show itself up as swelling in your body, swelling in your lungs, and that's the reason why you get your shortness of breath, swelling in your abdomen, swelling in your legs and your feet, and it makes you extremely uncomfortable. Keep in mind that the majority of our sodium in our diet also does not come from the salt shaker itself. It actually comes in primarily through prepared foods, processed foods, canned foods, foods that are bottled. These are things where it's not fresh. Our recommendation is eat fresh fruits and vegetables. But if you're going to eat products that are canned or bottled, keep a close eye on the back on your food label and make sure that your food label is within the limits of what your diet has been prescribed to you by your dietitian or your physician. The amount of sodium, like I said, recommended for heart failure patients are primarily 1,500 milligrams of sodium. A teaspoon of salt, whether it's Hawaiian salt, kosher salt, sea salt, it's salt, is about 2,300 milligrams of sodium. And limiting it to 1,500 milligrams of sodium is pretty much the recommendation from the Dietary Association and the American Heart Association in managing your heart failure symptoms to reduce swelling is what the recommendation is. The Spam, a can of Spam, and this is, again, it's so important that you read the labels because this is actually reduced 25% less sodium. So that's what the reduced sodium, Spam sodium is. This is a can in which there are 6 servings, 6 slices, and 1 slice of sodium in 1 slice of serving of Spam is actually 580 milligrams of sodium. So you've already, if you're on a 1500 milligram sodium diet, you've already eaten in a Spam musubi probably a third of it, and you only have 1,000 to deal with for the rest of the day. But this is 580, a slice of low sodium Spam. We recommend, we know that it's difficult for a lot of our local people to not use certain, eat certain foods like Spam, but you know, if you use it, what we recommend is that, yes, you know, soak out the sodium if you can. So take your can of Spam and put it in water. And don't use the whole can, just use the 1 slice serving that's there. You could also use it cook it with a lot more vegetables, like a stir fry perhaps. You can probably make a stir fry with some tofu and use the Spam as more like a garnish, so you can have the flavor of the Spam instead of the whole can, and cut back on your sodium and your fat that way. But we appreciate the fact that we have such a culturally diverse community here, and how shoyu is something that we use without thinking, and those are the types of things that I really caution people, because again, it's not salt, but it is what I call liquid salt. Things like shoyu, oyster sauce, our bagong and our patis. A lot of our Vietnamese and our Thai sauces, fish sauces, are all high in salt. And so what's recommended is to cook your food without these seasonings. Add your fresh kinds of seasonings like pepper, garlic, onion, whatever the case may be for the dish, and then bring it to the table, and then you can have some control of maybe putting like a 1/4 teaspoon of having that taste of the shoyu. The light shoyu, again, is a preference over the regular shoyu. Also, you've got to read food labels, because a lot of the soy sauces out there may have more sodium than other brands. A lot of our Asian brands are much higher in sodium than the ones that we make here in Hawaii or on the mainland. So again, try to get your taste buds a little bit more used to something a little different by adding all these different salt-free types of herbs to it. And as time goes on, your taste buds will start to adjust. But it's really hard right now, I know, because you know, at this time, many of us you may crave that real salty taste that you're used to. But as time goes on, your taste buds, as you introduce all these different kinds of herbs to it, will get more used to that taste and start to cut back on the salt that you used to, the amount of salt that you used to eat. If you're talking about something that is sodium free, that means there's less than 5 milligrams of sodium in that particular serving. And when you're talking about low sodium, it's 140 milligrams of sodium for that particular serving. Reduced sodium, this is the better term. And reduced sodium is that if the product is out there and they talk about it being reduced sodium, what they're really saying is 25% less sodium than the product, which product you got, the classic product or the original product. So it's still quite high. It's still quite high in sodium. We have challenges financially with some people, and so they'll go to the food bank and they'll get canned goods, and that's their only alternative to getting food and if you are selecting foods that are canned, especially vegetables, I recommend that you drain the fluid from the vegetables and rinse that through water to get rid of the excess sodium that's in the product, in the vegetable. You want to also get the canned meats that you have, put them in if you can, and put it in water and soak it to soak out the excess sodium that may be in there. And if you are going to use it, again, stay within the serving size. Do not eat like in luncheon meat, like Spam. You don't want to eat the whole can. You want to eat only what the serving is, and then adding vegetables to it and making it a little healthier if possible. Or using it more like a garnish, as I said. You'll get the taste, and you'll get the taste of it, what you really want the product for, but you can still eat less of it instead of all of it, which is better. So Kahlua pork that's prepared outside of the home is going to be salty. You are right, and it's also going to be fatty. The thing is, you can prepare Kahlua pork very healthy, and you can cut back on the sodium content of it. We actually have a recipe for you that is a low sodium Kahlua pork recipe, and so if you prepare it at home and you follow that recipe, you'll be fine. But if you go out and try to get it somewhere else where someone else has prepared it, don't expect it to be low sodium. So there's a lot of foods out there that people will say, well, I didn't think I could have this, but again, it's who prepared that meal is what most important. And our Kahlua pork here is low in sodium.